Yeah, so you're talking about their training data, right? And how
Yep,
they're
yep.
training these models. So it differs across the different LLMs, like you mentioned, with OpenAI and ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. But what you need to understand here is that Gemini, owned by Google, of course, their ecosystem is so much bigger than what OpenAI or Anthropic can provide. We're talking YouTube, we're talking Google Search, Google Drive, we're talking Android, we're talking Google Chrome, on and on and on. And so if you're just looking at an LLM and trying to decide what ecosystem should I go all in on, obviously there's nuance to all of this. But Gemini, they actually, funny timing, Ryan, they actually just released something called personal intelligence, I think was the title there, where now they're going to start pulling in all of your history and data from YouTube watch history, Gmail, Google Drive, Google Maps, right? Any other flights, any other Google product that you have history on signed into your account that coincides with Gemini, they're going to factor all of that in, and that'll help you tremendously get the better results that you want versus ChatGPT is just using the memory that you've had in their ecosystem since you started. Now, OpenAI has other data, I'm sure, and same with Claude and Anthropic. But again, I just go back to what I said earlier. I just do not see Gemini or Google in general losing this AI race because of all the data that they have, and you may as well use that to your advantage.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I don't want to get a ton of discussion about privacy laws and all that. We're not lawyers, but you can see, like I have noticed on ChatGPT and Claude, especially here recently. Gemini, I've kind of always assumed some of the stuff that you said, but ChatGPT and Claude have recently seemed to have pushed. Oh, well, you said this a while back, or you're doing this, or this ties in great to what you're doing over here, and I'm like, well, that's not really. I didn't want you to answer from that perspective. Like that may or may not be relevant, but that's not why I'm asking you this right now. And so, it is going to be interesting to see how these LLMs battle what they know about you. And then as humans, we ask questions all the time just to get a different perspective, knowing that we already have 47 questions we've already asked, but we want to hear Ryan's perspective on it. We hear Tom's perspective on it, and so it's going to be interesting to see how they fight through that. And so something like Google, they should have some of that balance because they will see that someone has watched 4 videos on, some kind of AI tool just to hear a different perspective. So hopefully that will come into the equation because right now it does feel a little bit like, oh, they're assuming that because you asked this, it ties into this, and oh, da, da, da. It's like, no, maybe, yeah, that's why I'm asking, maybe not. So where do you see that trend of the memory going, and then like how they process that?
Yeah, again, I think Google just is going to own all sorts of memory. I mean, the only memory that OpenAI has, again, is in their ecosystem. But you mentioned data privacy, and this is actually funny because someone in my community asked a question like, well, Ryan, I don't want to check this box that lets Google Gemini train off of all my Google data and apps. And I'm like, I hate to break it to you, but they're doing that anyways. So you might as well click it on and use it to your advantage to help you get better outputs. You can provide more context to Gemini. And so that's a thing that people need to understand here is that you may think you're trying to be secure with your data by checking all these settings, but hate to break it to you, Ryan, you already know this. All these big tech companies already know almost everything about us. So you may as well use that to your advantage when you're training and using these AI models.
Yeah, I was with some friends the other day, and I was telling them I'd seen a video about someone arguing that the population in China wasn't nearly as large as they thought it was. And I just mentioned that I hadn't actually watched the whole video. I wasn't sure. I just saw it. I was like, I need to go back and find that, but I didn't know who it was. And like 2 days later, on my Twitter feed, there that video appeared. I'm like, okay, yep. Everyone always somehow is watching what you're doing. So you're spot on there.